Today, Homeworthy unlocks the doors to three extraordinary brownstones, where historic charm meets bold modern living. First, interior designer Jarret Yoshida shares his 1880s Brooklyn home, rescued from near ruin and rebuilt room by room with antiques and collected finds.
You know, when we talk about making homes something personal, beautiful art, done with people that you love, it doesn't get much better than that.
The Brownstone Boys, Slocum and Barry Bordelon, open the doors to their latest Brooklyn renovation, where preserved details meet bold color and modern updates.
And then this old man.
This was the trip upstate where we got him, remember? He's got a little damage on him, but it's okay. You know, there's not everything has to be perfect, which is how our philosophy when we renovated our house and when we restore our clients' homes, is it doesn't have to look like it was just built yesterday. It wasn't. It was built 150 years ago.
And in Boston's Beacon Hill, Lisa Mullan Perkins welcomes us into her early 19th century home, where federal architecture is layered with modern design and spaces made for gathering.
For a long time, this stairwell just was white with nothing in it, no wallpaper, anything. And we stared at it for years trying to figure out the right choice for this because it is the center of our home. So I worked with Nina Farmer and she found this custom calico wallpaper. And it's contemporary and timeless and it ties in with the authenticity of the house and it has allowed the staircase to glow.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Jarret. Welcome to my brownstone in Brooklyn. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Jarret Yoshida. I'm an interior designer and welcome to my brownstone in Brooklyn. When I first moved to my brownstone in Brooklyn, it was a former abandoned crack house. When we moved in, there were no front doors. My cast iron had been stolen. My back windows were not in, and it was February and there was ice everywhere. And the pipes had broken downstairs. So yeah, it was a real challenge. And over the years, we've managed to improve it slowly but surely. What inspired me to buy a brownstone that was a former crack house was really necessity being the mother of invention. I did not have a finance bro husband or someone who worked in tech. He was a fireman from 9/11 who was chronically ill. So we bought the worst house we could in the best location possible. This house really has a very long history. It was built in around 1885, and when we were doing the renovation, we saw in pencil mark 1885 or 1886 on the back of one of the fireplaces. And slowly but surely, we've been renovating it as our budget allowed, as time allowed. You know, I have a busy interior design life. He's been very sick with a lot of his 9/11 related things. But what's pushed us forward has been this idea that we are stewards of this house, that this is a history for us that we're not just doing for ourselves, but frankly for people down the road. Funnily enough, my ex lived around 3 blocks down the street. The church nearest to us is where his grandfather was baptized. So we do have very long family ties here of 4 generations actually in Bed-Stuy. So for us, this is a duty, it is a calling, and it's also a pleasure, right? We're not moving into some place that was just cookie cutter, ready-made. It would have been easier and it might have been nicer, but it wouldn't have been as meaningful. Welcome to the entry of my Brooklyn brownstone, and I wanted to show you some really interesting things because again, when we moved here, the front doors here had been stolen as well as the interior part of what would technically be called the vestibule. which is a nice little air pocket here that prevents all the cold air from rushing in. Remember, they didn't have insulated glass. They didn't have lots of nice little beautiful things coming from 3M to insulate the breeze from coming in, right? So you had this vestibule. But as you know, my things got stolen. So we had to remake this house. And when we did, you're seeing the reverse of it right now, but Dan actually hand painted these letters in gold on the door. So it would become, you know, the street number, and it wasn't like something we got from, you know, Restoration Hardware. You know, if you can have it handmade, please do so. And then we put art in, and one of the things I want you to notice here is that instead of making the art just at eye level, we actually put art, not valuable things, we printed this ourselves, we made it go all the way up. When you have a really high ceiling, you must hang your art all the way up, because otherwise, what happens? Your eye just stays here and you don't get to experience the joy and the beauty of how big your house is. But likewise, one of the mistakes I think that many people make when they have a house with, let's say, a standard 8.5 foot high ceiling, don't make the art only at your eye level. And by the way, that is where your art should largely be. Do not hang your art that high up. It always looks off, like someone wearing high water pants in an unintentionally non-Tom Brown kind of way. Stack it. Make something go even higher. And then that way, your eye will scan all the way up. And to that point, I want to show you guys something that we did, I think following along with a lot of traditional French and English old homes, and my old European, right? So 300, 400, 500 years old. You have these really great staircases, and you can see what's happening here. And we actually had Dan hang all this art, which I've gotten from various flea markets. And so these flea markets have been anywhere from, I got this at the Rose Bowl, this I got from Goodwill. I cut this out of a really great photo book. He is a German minimalist photographer. I got this in Prague, this from Richmond, that from a client. That is my very first piece I got when I went to USC. I bought that when I was 18. You take all your art and you create this kind of really beautiful vista. So you want your eye to keep pulling up the wall, pulling up the staircase, right? And that creates the drama. You create an access point. And the last thing I'll point out is that I made this beautiful thing. I found the frame again on the sidewalk. I painted it white, and I took some gold leaf and I put it on. And I'm shocked by how many compliments I got on it, and I continue to get. But it's a nice way of creating, again, a visual foil, no pun intended, by having something really abstract, expressionist, right next to this frame here, right? Very traditional, very arts and crafts, a little East Lake, again, like our fireplace. So when you can pull these details in, look for contrast, but look for commonalities, that's how you create coherence and cohesion in your house. So when you do buy something, be purposeful, know what you're buying, and then you'll end up with something that hopefully will be as meaningful to you as this house is to me. So when we talk about meaningful things, you know, again, you get things at flea markets in Washington, D.C. There's a great flea market in Paris where, if you guys haven't been yet, and I'm not going to say Clignancourt, I am not going to say Saint-Ouen, everybody covers that. You want to go to Vanves. And if you go to Vanves, you can find beautiful things like this frame. I'll pull it out so you guys can see it, and pay only 20 euros for it. Try find that at Pottery Barn for 20 euros, kids. So there's that. So this I bought with my best friend, who has unfortunately since passed away, when we were in San Francisco at a thrift store near his house. And you know, if you can have things that remind you about people that are no longer in your life and are meaningful, you're a very lucky person. So yeah, anyway, this reminds me of him every day. And yeah, buy things that are meaningful for you. Don't just get things because they're pretty. Dan and I met in 2002. He had just been serving there where he was near, on top of and under the pile. And he's been a huge advocate for 9/11 healthcare funding. And in my eyes, he's the reason why it got passed, because he got lobbying involved to make sure that this funding would be secured. So I'm really always so proud of him. And 23 years later, he's now my ex-husband, but we're still very close. He lives in the house with me. This house has been the kind of boon we never thought that we would need, because it has multiple apartments. We can split them up. He lives upstairs, I live downstairs, or vice versa. We're still very involved in each other's lives. He says to me, I may not be your husband, but we're still partners. And I thought, damn it. You're totally right. He's also a very good guy. He's one of those guys that like kids and animals love. He actually helped to rescue 50 cats with me that were living in the house, in and outside the house when we first got it. That's how abandoned it was. He tamed 40 of them. And yeah, that's the kind of person that he is. And our life is still very much in this house. 9 months out of the year, he's in Hawaii though. So when he is here, our lives become, again, physically intertwined in terms of cooking, cleaning, helping me out when he can, when he's feeling well enough. I am as grateful as can be that this house has played a role in my life in a way that I don't think most people can say. So welcome to my parlor floor in our beautiful brownstone in Brooklyn. And let me go ahead and take you on a little tour of what's going on in our space. So our brownstone is a little wide, wider than normal certainly. It's 21 feet wide and 50 feet deep. So altogether we have 4,000 square feet of livable space and a cellar with another 1,000. And we're getting ready to excavate that so I can make a duplex for myself and my kitty cats. These beautiful solid 8-foot mahogany doors are the only thing that kept out the 20-degree weather from coming into our space, because our front doors had been stolen along with our cast iron. It was a really different neighborhood then. And these are painted, and so we had them stripped. And you can see there are little cracks, and there's lots of beautiful patina. But I think that's what you get when you live in a brownstone. You're not here to have something new and plasticky and perfect. When you go to Versailles, not that I'm comparing my house to Versailles, when you go to a historic home, you don't want everything to look perfect on you. You want it to have character. And I think these really set the tone for everything else you're gonna see in the house. So when we first moved into this brownstone, this room was painted bloody murder red. I am not kidding you. It looked like a scene from The Shining. It was horrible. This floor had been divided into 4 separate rooms because they were maximizing the amount of rent they could get. The parlor floor was never meant to be that. Historically, what it was supposed to do was be the floor for entertaining. So you could see from here all the way to there in one beautiful vista. So we restored the layout and we re-added the beautiful crown molding and everything else that you see here today. When we were designing our brownstone, I personally was thinking, let's do everything in white and gray. But my firm and people in my firm reminded me that this is my opportunity to be creative and to be expressive. So that's why you end up with so many vivid colors in our brownstone, including this beautiful green that we found. And this is inspired by a historic home in England. And I think anytime you're gonna choose an assertive color, if you can tie it to history, it makes more sense. You're grounding it. It doesn't become like the Barbie pink of the moment. This is centuries old and good enough for an English lord. It should be good enough for me. So one of the other things that we're really proud about are these louvered shutters right here. And they control the amount of light that come in, whether you want to open it all the way like this, or you just want to have a little bit of light come through. And remember, these are made pre-air conditioning. So controlling light coming into your brownstone was really important. Otherwise, you would end up just being a sweaty mess in the summertime, more than you need to be. And we found these in the cellar, and we had them restored and painted because making them go back to the original wood color that they were would have been frankly so expensive, but I didn't want to throw them away. And I think they actually provide us with the kind of character you're looking for in a brownstone. And so sometimes we'll do these with curtains, but in our situation, we have enough going on, and this is more than enough sun protection for us. So that's why they are the way they are now. I'm a big believer in doing new and old together, and I think it makes your space not date. I've been working now for 25 years, and you can look at my portfolio from 2000, 2001, and it doesn't look dated. We love using antiques, vintage, modern, and contemporary furnishings in our house. And this is an example of something antique, American. It is over 100 years old. We would say it's vintage if it's, I would say, up till around 100 years to, like, let's say the 50s, the 60s. And then modern starts around 60s till maybe in the last 20 years, and then contemporary. But by mixing all of these things up, you end up with a house that doesn't date. And when you spend a lot of money on your home, I'm not looking for my clients to spend money and have it be disposable. It's also not great for the environment. So mix things up, and I think this is a great example of how to do it. And you can't get this at a store. You know, you have to find it, and that makes the purchase more meaningful as well. So one of the other things that we like to do, in addition to expanding chronology in the decoration of a space, is expanding the geography. So behind me is a Gothic chair, obviously influenced by Europe, but this was something I found on the sidewalk in the West Village that someone was getting rid of. And I remember thinking, you're an idiot, I'm taking that home. So my friends know how I am, and they were like, okay, we're gonna help you get into the Uber and interrupt our lunch plans. So I picked this up, shoved it into an Uber, and what it is, it's a Japanese tansu, probably Meiji era. So we're looking at something that is probably from the mid 1800s to the late 1800s. And you'll notice that actually this is made in two different parts. And the reason why is Japan had a lot of fires. Everything was made out of wood. So you put your precious items in here, and God forbid there was a fire, you could take it out of the house, and everything precious you own, right? Whether it's going to be your kimono, your documents that showed ownership of the land, who your family was, we're all in here. Your family would take it out and good to go. So this was my trash find, super proud of it. And yeah, I hope you guys think it looks as good as I do. And if I'm delusional, feel free to let me know. So this bird cage is Indian inspired. I think it's a reproduction. Let's own this for what it is. But I did get it at the Housing Works Design on a Dime show, which is where interior designers from all around New York come together, make donations in their vignettes, and then invite people to come and buy them. And this was not in my booth, it was in someone else's booth, but we bought it and I love it because I think it adds some really great architectural detail, but you can still see the really museum-worthy Japanese screen that's right behind it. So speaking about the screen behind the cage, this is probably the pièce de résistance out of almost anything I bought, not just for myself, but also for any client in the last 26 years, but it was under $2,500. I found this on eBay. One of my degrees is in East Asian art, and this depicts the time when my family leaves Japan because they need to go to Hawaii and start a new life. You know, it's very brave of them, and I can't imagine doing it. This is actually when Japan is getting westernized, so it's one of the last times you're going to see people dressed in traditional garb, wearing outfits that show their samurai, right, with arrows and swords, going to a Shinto shrine over there in the corner. It's really a fantastic work of art because what you're looking at in terms of craft, people who can paint, people who can make gold leaf and apply it, people who can make silk, the fabricator of the wood frame itself, the person who's providing the pigment to make this work of art happen. You're not just going to Dick Blick and picking all this up. This is truly something that when you think about a workshop, a village coming together to make something at a time when you were not just ordering something online, it is mind-boggling to think about this. So we've gotten this appraised recently, and we do know it is museum worthy. So, you know, I love finding a bargain, and so this makes me very happy. But it also makes me really happy to look at this every day because it is something that is connected to my family, and it is really an exquisite work of art that brings me a lot of joy. And finally, my ex did hang this. And if you think it is easy to hang something this big, this poor guy, it took him like 5 hours to hang. And you can see he did it in a way that it's above our chair rail and everything here, but it's very thoughtful, very considered. He broke it up because the fireplace level is a little bit separate from the back wall there. So again, you know, when we talk about making home something personal, beautiful art done with people that you love, it doesn't get much better than that. When you grow up in Hawaii, the idea that you are one or the other is, not something that I think most people think about. I think growing up in Hawaii, because of Hawaiian culture, I'm so grateful that they have a value system based on acceptance, based on welcoming people. And so obviously when my great-grandparents arrived in Hawaii, they were welcomed along with all the other workers who are working in sugarcane fields and pineapple fields. And that culture, really unique, really gorgeous. So it made me be able to value people who didn't look like me. And also what they think is beautiful became what I thought is beautiful as well. And that's how you end up with a house like this and a design firm like ours that uses influences from all around the world. When you move into former crack houses, people have already ruined the fireplace for you because they painted these. They paint everything. People with lack of taste think paint is the answer, and it is not always the answer. Certainly it is clear not for something like this. Beautiful white marble. It's in an East Lake style, which I think is fairly unusual, not for a brownstone, but for people to see. And you can see with these really strong geometric figures happening here. This is why I would consider this to be very East Lake in influence. On top of it, this is a piece of art from someone named Toshio Shibata, who happens to be Japanese. I collect photography from California and from Japan. And he does photographs of highway urban landscaping, you know, to prevent erosion control. So, you know, very severe. It's the opposite of something lyric and gorgeous like this screen, but you kind of need that, right? You don't want everything to be cute and everything to be too approachable. But this little Japanese bodhisattva I found in Housing Works as well. But this great mid-century sculpture, it is bronze, it is heavy, heavy, so heavy. It is like workout level, 45 pounds. I found at a great store, and shout out to Carlos at Art and Antiques in Miami because he has some of the best taste in art. And I will say that is one resource I will share with everyone here. Carlos is amazing. Go look at his website, and this is the kind of thing that you will find. And the pricing is unbelievable. So yeah, when you work with really great people around the country, they will save things for you. They'll give you really great ideas about where the art comes from, why it's really important, and yeah, get along with the people that you work with, in other words. So we're going to talk about this chandelier right above me, which is solid bronze. And you know, the first time I saw this, I remember thinking, it looks really old-fashioned, right? But the first time I saw it, I was at the Morgan Library Museum, and I realized, hey, maybe they knew something I didn't. So instead of getting something really basic that looked mid-century and contemporary, I wanted to open up my visual library of what we use. So when I found this, again, friends at Housing Works, sold to me, and it's solid bronze, so they had to reinforce the ceiling because it's so heavy it would rip out otherwise. But I really think like when you open it up, it gives the brownstone a sense of luxury and a sense of grounding and history that a contemporary fixture simply wouldn't have. And I'm really glad that we found it. And I think it really makes the entry into the brownstone feel really special. You know, I think I have a pretty cliche story as designers go. I think it's that whole, I knew I was supposed to be one, even before I knew it existed as a job. In the 4th grade, my mom, who is very creative, you know, she comes from a family where she was walking barefoot to school in sugarcane fields, right? So the idea of doing design was not something that was available to her as an idea, right? It would be like the idea of someone saying, oh, I'm gonna be an astronaut and living in Mali or something. It just was that foreign. But in 4th grade, we were fortunate enough to be doing construction in our house. She took me to the wallpaper store to choose wallpaper. She let me choose my own paint color, and I chose my own carpet. And I remember in the 5th grade, getting a plastic pot and putting an areca palm so I could be in the corner of my room, and getting a little hammock in the center of my room next to my bed. And yeah, I think that started it, you know? So welcome to the dining area of my brownstone, and I wanted to show you a few things that have a lot of meaning to me. This actually is Tahitian or Polynesian. It's not Hawaiian. I recently found out, and a friend, a really good friend and a really good client, Karen, I'm caretaking it for her because her own brownstone is too filled after we designed it. So she's like, Jarret, please do something. So here it is. You know, your friends give you museum level art. Who are you to say no? You're not an idiot, right? And this actually is a Gothic style pew chair. It actually was, I think, made for like the aldermen to sit in it, which if I were a Christian, I would know more about. I'm sorry, but they were gonna throw it away, and I thought, no way is that happening. So found these again on the sidewalk, which is insane. I realize I sound like all I do is pick everything out of the trash. I promise that is not true. These chairs are actually vintage, mid-century, and why I really like what we did here is these seats are actually made out, not out of fabric, but they are made out of a polyurethane made for contract spaces. When we say contract, we're talking about like restaurants and offices. So that way when you spill food, you know, you can just wipe it off. Really practical, but still pretty. But meanwhile, what we did was we pulled that and we did this nice piping here around the back of the chair. And you use piping for 2 reasons. You want to cover the seam, or in this case, you want to create coherence between this horizontal level and now what's going on in this vertical level. It makes your outfit less jarring, which, you know, sometimes you want to be jarring and then other times you don't. And this is a case where we didn't. And this was some fabric that we had left over from a project, and, you know, tiny little pieces, but I didn't want it to go to waste. So I saved it, you know, like it's post-World War II Japan or something like that. And then I made it into the back of these chairs. And finally, you know, this dining table here, you can't see it too well, but here, we'll do the reveal. You actually have leaves here. So this table can go smaller or larger. So, you know, when you have more friends over, the table can expand. And I think even in a space that can be as large as a brownstone parlor floor, having expanding tables is something that's really practical. And frankly, for our clients who have dining rooms that are even as big as this entire floor, and those apartments do exist in New York, it is not just a myth. We actually have expanding dining tables for them sometimes as well, because you don't want to eat at a dining table that serves 14 all the time. I mean, maybe you do and you have that kind of Downton Abbey lifestyle, and if you do, go for it, but that's not how most people live anymore. Anyway, This is my dining area, and hope you guys like it. When Dan and I first moved into our brownstone, this floor did not have a kitchen. As I mentioned, it was 4 separate apartments. Even traditionally, it wouldn't have had a kitchen. The servants were making all the food downstairs, so they had easy access to the street. And frankly, the air was dirtier then because, you know, horse-drawn carriages, blah, 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 all the dust. So we moved the kitchen up here because that's how you live in a modern house, right? We love being stewards of history, but you have to be practical and acknowledge what is going on. So to that end, we also made this custom backsplash. This is actually a picture that Dan took of a koi pond when we were visiting some friends in Hawaii. And then our team photoshopped the fish in. So some of them are looking like they want to get fed, other ones are swimming. But this is actually only about 3 images of fish that we've inverted, flipped, you know, cropped. And then we made this really special backsplash so that you have something really beautiful to see. I think especially when you have your kitchen be in an open area, your backsplash is really important. You can use it and have it just be white, or in this case, you can have it really be a feature, and it's something I don't think you're gonna regret. Everyone that comes in here loves it, and I know, again, because it's personal to Dan and me, we love seeing it, and it makes me really happy. I am really fortunate to come from Hawaii because there are a lot of different ethnicities there, right? My family has Japanese, Filipino, white, and now Hawaiian in it. So, you know, this is a typical Hawaii story. But what it makes you do, and that's just the genetics of my family. When you think about your friends, then of course it expands even wider in terms of exposure to culture, where they're from, what their families are like, how long they've been in the US, right? And that made me very sensitive to having things around me, to being able to really absorb and incorporate different aesthetic influences. So that was really helpful. I went to this school called Punahou where like Barack Obama went, the head of AOL, all these really successful people that are overachievers. And, you know, they send everybody pretty much to schools on the mainland. So then I went to LA and Tokyo, moved to DC for work, finally arrived in New York. But my jobs were never associated with design. I mean, it was really like, it was something that was in here in my heart, but I never let this part, my brain, let that take over because I thought, oh, you know, I should be in business. So my first job was working for Mitsui, which is a huge international trading company like Mitsubishi, if you don't know, yeah? So unhappy. And then I ended up working in politics and fundraising. So I worked for the Smithsonian and I worked for Human Rights Campaign, which is the nation's largest gay and lesbian, now bi, transgender civil rights group, right? HIV/AIDS, and I worked for politicians. It made me feel good that I was trying to improve the overall culture. But what I wasn't doing was contributing to the visual culture, which is what I had always wanted to do. So when I moved to New York, I'm like, oh my God, I'm just gonna do it. So I did do 1 or 2 jobs that eventually got me to be an interior designer. And here we are 25 years later. That's a very long story. Hey Homeworthy, come into my bedroom. We converted our brownstone parlor floor. Instead of having more seating area here, we actually added on a full bathroom and full main bedroom here as well. And it's a really great open space, as you can see. One of the things that we loved about the space is this back niche here was actually hidden behind horrible drywall. The prior people who renovated our space, in order to save time, thankfully just covered this up. So it was a wonderful surprise. And I think it speaks to the idea of how you can create a focal point to make a room interesting. And it doesn't necessarily only have to come from a typical piece of art or fireplace. It could be something really fantastic, like a niche in the wall like this. Highly recommend it, and it's actually not very expensive to do, so if you can, I would put one in your house. So next up on the Jarret Yoshida Interior Designer Brownstone Trash Tour is another thing that I found on the sidewalks in New York. It's crazy, but I think this also is speaking to the idea of why you develop your eye. When you are looking at things, how do you know if it actually is valuable financially, aesthetically, historically? I did not go to school for interior design. I did not go to school for architecture, but I was so passionate about it that, I've picked up a lot of information over the years, not an expert. This is a Rauschenberg, which, if you know, he's a contemporary of Jasper Johns. He was Jasper Johns' boyfriend for a while, all kinds of crazy things. Like if you're at MoMA, this is the kind of thing that you want to see, right? You're at LACMA, this is the kind of thing that you want to see. And I found it on a sidewalk in Tribeca, which is insane. I did find out it's not the most valuable print that he made. He made like 1,000 of these. Nonetheless, if you're gonna find a Rauschenberg on the sidewalk, you let me know, and if you don't want it, you call me and I'll come pick it up. I carried this home on the subway, and here it is. So again, when you have things in your house, if they can have a story, how much more fun is it to know that you pick this up on a sidewalk versus, I got it at auction at Bonham's, right? I love Bonham's auction house also. They're really great. But the sidewalk was free, so you're not gonna beat that. I usually don't like recommending colors to people without seeing their space because I rarely find that it works, because you need to look at everything else going on in the room, because it will shed, colors, it radiates a color onto the wall. Having said that, this is literally the only time you'll hear me say, you can do this and it'll work in your house. This is Benjamin Moore, Silver Bells, and it is unbelievable. We have been using this color now for 20 years. It can go contemporary, it can go traditional, it goes with white oak floors, it goes with walnut floors, it goes with everything. Of course, as a reminder for everybody, when you do it on a wall, it should be eggshell or satin, right? If your walls are not in great condition, do not do it in semi-gloss. That's usually for trim, so you can wipe it clean. Don't do it in a flat, because you'll never be able to wipe fingerprints, peanut butter jelly stains, whatever off the wall. Don't do it in a flat, but you can use Benjamin Moore Silver Bells instead of just another white, and it just gives the room a little bit more life, and it doesn't look like a landlord special. And so, believe it or not, this is actually the other side of the room. Every so often, if you want to do something assertive, like don't make every room assertive, because that's kind of like a headache. It's like you don't want to be the loud guest at the party all night long, but don't bore everyone to tears either. You can do one thing that's going to be fun. So we chose this tomato red color here, which we took out of, when you look at some of Andy Warhol's work and he does some prints, we took this red out. Again, you reference a good piece of art, kind of hard to go wrong. I mean, don't do something too dark like a Francis Bacon, but yeah, this would be okay. And this is actually an artist who we met at a student art fair. Highly, highly recommend going to student art fairs. Please pay them something fair. Do not accept their first offer. You are to double the offer. They never ever give you a number high enough. This guy wanted only $250. I think I tripled it, because you don't want to take advantage of students. Do not be the person that takes advantage of students. Bad karma for you. Meanwhile, all of this stuff, this pottery, was made by my ex, Dan, who is such a good pottery maker, in addition to being a fireman, right? And a fantastic florist. And, he was super gay and then super butch. It was like the YMCA kind of village people all together. But this was made by his professor, Bob Barry, who's a really talented working artist, and his former professor. And it's a little cat. And Dan got this for me as a little surprise, which is very sweet. So, get along with your ex and he'll give you art as well if everything works out well. The fireplace, I think, is really interesting. When we were doing construction on the house, the worker fell on it. The worker fell on our fireplace and nearly killed himself. Thankfully, he did not. And he also killed the fireplace. And you see all these cracks here. But you saw the other fireplace. And while that one was beautiful, I think this has a lot of character that I really, really enjoy. What I want to do one day, in all my free time, which I don't have, is, take some nice gold leaf and repair it so that the seams become a feature that's even more visible. This is a Japanese craft known as kintsugi, which I know is all over Instagram. But, try to find something really broken. Don't break something and repair it, because again, that's kind of defeating the whole spirit of what you're doing here. You can see though what happens here, right? Handmade, broken, traditional, super contemporary. But if everything is personal and you make it relate to who you are, it's going to resonate not just with you, but hopefully it's going to resonate with everybody who's viewing it, like the way that you guys are, and I hope you like what we did. So the only thing actually that is really new in the house is bedding. You can get traditional bedding, and that's really fantastic. And if you get it at a flea market and getting it at eBay, I think that's really easy to do. In this case, we did get a lot of new bedding. And I would say that, normally we wouldn't live like this. And this is really just for Homeworthy, so you guys can see what can happen when we layer a bed. I will point out that when you do layer, for the love of everything that is holy in design, please vary texture. You don't need to make a whole bunch of colors, right? You don't need to make all these pillows and everything like that, and even all this floral. But you can see what's happening, right? You do this nice texture, which looks a little bit like a rug. You do this, which has a little bit of stitching in it. You have this, which is waffle woven. You don't want it just to be flat white sheets, flat white pillowcase, flat white duvet. It's going to look like you're living in a sanitarium. That's not the point of how you want to. Now, let me take that back. I do have clients that wanted us to make something that really did look like a sanitarium. That was very easy, and it didn't require a lot of thinking, right? Stainless steel, porcelain counters, all white sheets. Fine, that's what you want, you get it. But if you want to make it so that it feels like a home that will be inviting to your friends, a place of relaxation, vary texture, vary pattern, and you can come up with something that'll be, I think, even better than what you're doing for your house right now. One of the things that I'm proud of is that when we were renovating this house, I wanted to have as many original things as possible. And as I said, again, basically nothing here is original except for these doors. And these doors are original to this house because the same builder and architect who built this house built next door. And when they were demolishing their house, because it was owner-investor, not owner-occupied, they decided to get rid of their solid mahogany doors, which is insane because if I were to find these doors and sell it to a client now, your bathroom door would be around $7,500 to $8,000. And that's me being generous and discounting it. So these doors were rescued by my ex-Dan using all his fireman's skills, single-handedly carried this easily 150-pound solid mahogany door from next door, down the stairs, over to the house, up the stairs, and he rescued this door, another closet door, and again, I think when you can have things that have a story and have history, you're just going to find that it means so much more to you than if you gave me your credit card and I bought something. Now, not everybody's going to be able to lift a 150-pound mahogany door into their house, and I'm not expecting that, but take your time. Do things in your house that are going to be meaningful, because if you don't, 10 years from now, you're going to be like, oh, let's just get rid of it, Jarret. I don't like it. But if you do it in a way that you're like, oh, remember, and there's a story, and you can remember how you got it with your partner, how you and your friend went to the flea market to get something, you're never going to want to get rid of it, and you're going to treasure it forever, which is how we're doing with these doors. And this leads to our bathroom. So I'm going to open this and show you what's next. I think New York is one of the best cities in the world, and I've been fortunate to travel a lot recently, and lived in a lot of places. It's dirty and it is chaotic, and there are so many rude people here, but you know, you take the good and you have to take the bad, right? Because the good parts are what comes out of living in New York are the sheer diversity. When you go into the subway, it is shocking. You're not just seeing people from like, oh, Europe and Asia. They're coming from like the mid-Asia parts like Kazakhstan and like the northern parts of Ukraine where people kind of look half Asian, half white, or people who are like Middle Eastern and Haitian combinations. Everything is here. The food, the art, the behaviors, and it's so dynamic. If you have ADD like me, you cannot live in another city other than New York and be satisfied. So that's why I love living in New York. It just has something going on constantly. If you're bored in New York, that's just more about you than it does about the city. Don't blame the city. You look at yourself. So this is our bathroom. And again, in a traditional brownstone floor, you wouldn't have a full bath here. You'd only have a half bath. But you know what? Who wants to go all the way up to another floor to use their bathroom? You want it to be en suite if you're gonna do your construction fantasies, right? So we built this here. It's pretty simple, you know, it's pretty basic. But one of the things that we wanted to do was incorporate some great detailing here that was meaningful to us. We had these mouth-blown, hand-turned Venetian chandeliers made for us in this beautiful gold color. You know, when you turn on lighting, instead of it being clear, it shines through this lens of golden glass. Everybody looks really beautiful. Plus it really warms up the room, right? And if you're turning on lights late at night, the last thing you need to see is bright white light in your face so it can ruin your sleep. The other thing I wanted to point out is this. So what we like doing, and this is aesthetic, it is financial, we will take frames from one of our great framers and that are used. And they have patina on them, so they have wear. It doesn't look perfect. It's not supposed to look like it just got extruded out of a plastic tube like it's toothpaste, right? It feels personal. But the print itself is very new. This is a very famous Rodin sculpture, and Dan took a picture of it at HOMA, the Honolulu Museum of Art, and we blew it up. And then we made it art. So we took a recycled frame, this great print, we put it together. And so for under $300, you get something that, you know, evokes the best of museum world, your own life, and a really great silver leaf frame that if it was new would be $1,500. But I think it works out really well. One other thing I wanted to talk about was color. And I know sometimes people think, oh, I have to have all my paint colors organized right away. Usually we do. But sometimes if you want to be a little creative on your own and you're thinking, oh, you know, I don't know if I can do that all first. Let me choose one. It's very common to choose things in sequence, particularly if you're not a professional. So what we did was we have the red going on in the bedroom and we have the green going on in the living room. So of course you have to choose blue so you can do RGB, right? Like a screen. So we choose this beautiful turquoise. And if you have ever seen, and I'm gonna reference Downton Abbey now, which is crazy, they have some beautiful interiors. So when you choose a color, again, it is very helpful to choose a color that you know has been used in history. It avoids getting stuck in a trend. And very often it pulls you out of what everyone is doing so that you're not going to look at it and say, ooh, that is so 2002, you know? And so we chose this blue and it worked out really well organically, but it is an example of how you don't need to plan everything ahead. And it is okay to do that, but just be thoughtful when you do it and it's going to work out great. You know, when I first started out, I thought the word home was physical and geographic, that it meant having a space where you went home to sleep and that you decorated. now that I've seen, my ex die almost 10 times in front of my face, and that he lives in Hawaii, my other ex lives in Paris, and I live here, and I get to go to all these places and be cared for and loved. I'm older, and I'm realizing now that home really is about where are you being loved and who are you loving. And yeah, that's what it means now, which is kind of ironic, right? Because my work is all about creating that physical space, but it's much more about feeling, I guess, cared for by who you're with.
Hey, Homeworthy, I'm Jordan.
And I'm Barry. We're better known as the Brownstone Boys.
Welcome to our Brooklyn Brownstone.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. I'm Allison Kenworthy, the founder of Homeworthy, and we take you inside the world's most beautifully decorated homes and introduce you to the brilliant people who live there.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Liz Lang. Welcome to Grey Gardens.
Click the join button below to access all of our latest episodes ad-free and watch extended cuts of this and other homes, opening the doors to new rooms and exclusive content featuring our beloved hosts.
I can't wait to see. I'm so excited.
And if you're looking to shop items inspired by this and other Homeworthy tastemakers, be sure to use the product links below or scan the QR code on screen to find fabulous furniture, coffee table books, and accessories that can transform your house into a home.
Hi, I'm Barry Bordelon.
And I'm Jordan Slocum, and we're better known as the Brownstone Boys.
We are interior designers and home restorers here in Brooklyn, New York.
And welcome to our home here in New York City. So our journey goes all the way back to 2017, when Barry and I met online, and 7 months after our first date, we ended up buying an 1890 Brooklyn brownstone together. It was pretty wild thinking about it. I actually think when I told my parents I was buying a brownstone with someone I was only dating for 7 months, I almost put my parents in their grave, but I just really had a strong connection to Barry immediately. I learned all about his real estate background. I was in the commercial design world, and I knew together we can kind of create something really magical. We walked inside our brownstone, and the bones were there. We saw it. It needed a lot of work, but it was something that we both were looking for, a project, something that we could get our hands on, get dirty. And unfortunately, we had very little renovation budget, so we had to tackle a lot of the work ourselves. And that's when really Brownstone Boys started. We really put all of our learnings out in the community, the good, the bad, everything in between. And through our own journey, so many people were reaching out to us, asking questions about their renovation. All while we had other full-time jobs, we were answering their questions, giving out free advice. And finally, after like 7 months into our renovation, we met a couple nearby that was sounding like they needed a lot of work. So we met them for coffee, and we asked them if they were looking to hire us, because that's what the vibe we were getting. And they immediately said, yes, we don't care if you have professional experience. We just want to work with you guys. And they were our first clients. And now 7 years later, we have renovated over 30 townhouses here in New York City. Yeah, so when I met Barry in 2017, it was online. It was on this app called Grindr. And I was at a very dark place in my life, and I didn't really know what I was looking for, but I had recently been divorced, and it was the first time I was putting myself out there. And Barry and I chatted for 3 to 4 weeks before we even met. And that's crazy on grinder world for anyone that's familiar. And when I met, I just remember having butterflies in my stomach and really nervous because I really gained so much liking towards him in those 3 to 4 weeks that we were chatting. And it was because I just valued everything he was saying and I just wanted to hear more about his life and learn more about him as a person. So when we met, that first date was magical, and I think we spent the whole night just talking to each other, and then we went on a really great walk throughout Brooklyn, and it was on that second date. That's when we took a bike ride throughout the borough of Brooklyn, and the bike ride I thought was gonna be maybe 30, 40 minutes, but it was the entire day. And we biked from like neighborhood to neighborhood, all the way out to Bay Ridge and up through Bed-Stuy. And we both realized how much we share in common. And we both were window peekers, which we learned about. And that's when we always like walked up and down Brownstone streets and looked in people's windows and like just kind of set up their life, looking outside perspective. And we both like shared that information, and we both had that like creepy thing, but it was special. And we just really wanted both to own a brownstone. And that's when it, like, my mind churned and was like, wait a second, that's really what I want to do. I knew I wanted to buy some real estate in New York City. And
yeah, it was, it moved very fast. I mean, we really, I think, fell in love very quickly. We knew we wanted to be together very early on, even I think in the first few weeks looking back on it. And so for me, at least, it wasn't really a hard decision buying a house together after only being together for 7 months. I know it is crazy, and a lot of people might think it is, but for me it wasn't, because we kind of knew really early on, and so we had a lot of confidence in that.
yeah, and Barry and I are big community people, and I think that's also something that was kind of signs that we were maybe meant to be together. Our home means so much more than these beautiful, in my opinion, interiors. But like, we really take on a sense of community, and we pride ourselves where we are, no matter where we are mentally. But this home has really turned into a community opportunity for us. So much so, like, we moved in here shortly, it was COVID. We were spending a lot of time on our stoop getting to know our neighbors and just listening to their life stories and hearing there's a really nice gap of the old and the new on our block, people that have lived here generationally. And just hearing stories of our block over the past decades was really special. We held our wedding on our stoop, so we said I do a couple years ago back on our stoop, and we invited all the community to celebrate our celebration of love. And I just remember looking out, and we literally kissed and said I do on the top of our stoop, and we looked down and there was hundreds of people out there, strangers, family, friends, chosen family, all there to celebrate. And we just wanted to be this day about community, about celebration. And I think that's when I realized that this is our forever home, and we're like just really deeply love our home. All right, so welcome to our living room, and we want you to meet the newest addition to the Brownstone Boys. This is little Sailor, and he is brand new to our family. Literally just joined the family 3 days ago.
3 days ago. But he's doing really great. Look at him.
And he demanded to give the house tour, so I just needed him to say hello to everybody.
He already runs the house, so he can show you around. So here in our living room, one of the things that we love the most, which is one of the first things we did, is do all of the wood restoration. So all the original woodwork that you see around this room in the entryway, all of the beautiful pocket shutters that are in the front windows, we stripped all of the many layers of paint off of them. We restored them. We put a new protective layer of polyurethane on them. And now we just love the woodwork. We love how you can see the details in it again where you couldn't with all the paint on it before.
And we're always looking for ways to incorporate original details that might have been missing in the home. We always love bringing that back in. So this marble fireplace is a piece that was gone when we were here and we got the place.
All of the fireplaces were stripped out of this house.
So we
wanted
brought
at
it
least
back
one
inside the home, and I just love the finish on this. I love like the gray marble with it. We added this vintage mirror above it, and we added all of the wall moldings that you're seeing throughout here, and it just adds some texture and depth to the space.
Yeah, wall
and
moldings
proud
are
of it.
really a great way to bring character into a space. Sometimes, you know, it would have been in a house like this, would have had moldings on the walls. But it's a really great way to, even in a modern apartment or something, if you want to bring in that character and charm, it's very inexpensive and it's very easy to do. So it's a big upgrade for not a lot of money.
And this is a vintage light here that we sourced. People always get scared with vintage, but it doesn't necessarily need it to be expensive. This one we found overseas, and it was such a great deal, and just really love it. And we even added the ceiling medallion that is plaster as well.
All of the crown molding is all original. We had to do some repairs on it when we did our first renovation, but it's all original. And we decided to paint this space in a really creamy tone. I think the walls are shadow white by Farrow & Ball, and the ceiling is old white. So we actually went darker on the ceiling, which not a lot of people like to do, but we really think it highlighted the ceiling, it made it very beautiful, and we also brought that same color onto the baseboards and around the cased opening that leads to the kitchen and dining room.
So our place was really quite different than it was. I don't know if anybody's watched the previous tour, but you should go back and watch it. And you'll see that our place is so different because, I mean, we've added moldings and we even brought walls back inside the home that we're getting to shortly. But something that I take great pride in is all of the art. We've collected art over the years and it just was sitting in closets, and finally I got everything framed, put in place. It really started this beautiful picture gallery over here. But these two pieces in front of me are things that we're really proud of. This is done by a local artist, Jake Snowden, and he commissioned this piece for us. And it's an artist that we worked with on one of our projects in the past. And he got to know us, all of the colors and tones we were bringing in, and he created this one-of-a-kind piece that I think is just the statement here in the living room. And this is done by a artist by the name of Tadahiro, also local. And this piece speaks volumes to me. It's called Connectedness. You'll see two bodies connected, and all of the colors, the tones, he pulled in from our past restoration and in the colors of this new renovation. So I think it's just a really special piece. Textiles throughout. We created two living spaces. So if you saw that previous tour, we had our dining in the middle. At one point, we even had it in the front, and we weren't using our dining room. So now we put it in a space that we actually know that we're going to utilize the dining table. We put it in the kitchen. That created two areas for living. One is like this conversation corner that I really love. All vintage furniture that we found on Facebook Marketplace. We reupholstered some of them ourselves. We picked in new materials. I love this burnt like red leather on this couch here. Added ceiling to floor drapery just to highlight all of the restoration of the wood shutters. And then that carries on through here on our TV area.
And I think one of the things we had the most fun with was the vintage furniture, because we actually were able to find things at a really good price that just needed to be reupholstered. And some of the things we found were even, we saw the exact same thing or very, very similar pieces that were very expensive, that were already reupholstered and redone and refinished. And we found the same things for a fraction of the cost and reupholstered them ourselves. And we feel like we have unique, gorgeous, vintage furniture. So we had a lot of fun with that process. It takes a little longer to find all that stuff, so you have to kind of be a little patient, I guess, with it, but
Totally.
Definitely worth it.
And our lighting, I'm really pleased with the new lighting plan. We added wall sconces. We're big TV people, and there's nothing better than a dimmer on a light, setting the mood,
Yes.
the vibe for your evening. And now all of these wall sconces are on dimmers. We added these two. We built this wall behind us. This is a new addition.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest changes is I think a lot of people remove walls when they do renovations, but we built one. So this was just kind of like open between the living room and the kitchen. And one of our big goals was to, as you can see, the kitchen is painted a very saturated color. We really wanted to do that, but we wanted to separate the spaces so that we didn't have that color flowing throughout the entire space. And so we built this wall here, we cased the opening, we put all this molding around it to kind of make it look like it's been here all along. And there actually was originally a wall here. We could see there was this header where the molding ran up here. So we know that this was where there was a wall that separated the front parlor from the back parlor. It probably even had pocket doors in it, which are unfortunately long gone. But we really love how it creates these two spaces, and they're kind of different design moments as well. So I'm probably more the right brain person out of the two of us. I'm a little bit more, like I do kind of our business stuff and our financials and our, attorney, whatever is going on with that. So all the business things, I like to organize, create a process.
Yeah, I just think with creativity. I lead with creative. I lead with inspiration. And seeing all this vibrant color in our home now just makes me really happy. Even this art behind me, each of these pieces has a special memory, a special story. So I was like, I want this memory on my walls in my living room. And these two pieces here are obviously Frida Kahlo and Picasso, but these are from a trip to Mexico City. And it was our first, I think, visit together to Mexico City. And the tour of Mexico for us was very design heavy. We went to a lot of galleries. We went to a lot of markets looking for furniture, art, and I just saw these pieces and I just knew that they were hand drawn. They're on vintage music sheets, but they were just really special. This is a piece that this old lady spoke to Barry and I, and we found her on the streets of Paris, literally.
Literally just on the street.
Literally on the street.
It was a little, I remember it was like a little vintage honor system where there's a little box where you pay for the items that you want. And I think we'd even make up whatever price we wanted. And we just thought it was such a cute little moment on the street in Paris. And we, wanted to take her home.
We love faces and people and kind of figuring out what their backstory is. Who are they? And these guys just seem really cool. And I wanted to get to know more of them. And one of our friends, Taylor Interiors, is her Instagram handle. She's fantastic. And she actually sold some of her vintage finds at one of our stoop sales that we hold quarterly, and we invite the community to come over and shop. And she brought these two pieces, and I was like, Taylor, I need those. And now they're here on our walls. And I love just kind of asking Barry, what do you think those guys are up to tonight? And they're just chilling, but they're so great. And then this old man.
This was the trip upstate where we got him, remember? He's got a little damage on him, but it's okay. There's not everything has to be perfect, which is how our philosophy when we renovated our house and when we restore our clients' homes is it doesn't have to look like it was just built yesterday. It wasn't. It was built 150 years ago. So don't mind that on him as well. And I think this one we also got in Mexico City.
Correct.
Probably, I think, a different trip.
And then this one was at one of the Brooklyn design shows, and I just love the boldness. I love the flowers growing out of this person's head, and it's just really a good statement piece. So welcome to our dining and kitchen. This entire room is drenched in Farrell & Ball's rich diaper color. I love this olive green. It kind of picks up the nature. In front of us is our backyard, and there's tall trees and really nice views of Brooklyn brownstones. And I just love that this color kind of embraces the nature and the brownstones. And we decided to drench everything in this color, including the cabinetry, the ceilings, the baseboards, the trim, and I just really think that this is where we started this recent renovation with this color, and then we added all of our layers and textiles once we landed on this color.
And this rendition of the renovation is kind of half our old kitchen and half a new kitchen. So we didn't want to be wasteful and completely remove our kitchen, but we did have to change a few things. And so all the lower cabinets remained, and we just painted those in the new color. We did have upper cabinets that we removed because we put storage in other places that we'll show you. And then we paneled our fridge too, which we didn't have before because we really wanted everything to kind of be drenched in this beautiful color. And we brought in this gorgeous marble. We got this at ABC Stone, and as soon as we saw it, I think it's called Caldea Verde Blue. And it's just got this beautiful veining in it. It's got these fun rusty tones. We wanted the background to be overall white, but to have this drama. And we used it extensively in the kitchen with the shelf and the backsplash, so we wanted it to really pop.
And building this wall, this header behind us, allowed us to get an additional pantry cabinet over here, which is who doesn't need more storage? And speaking of storage, this transitions over to our dining, which I'll get to the banquette in a second. But you might notice a lack of appliances sitting on our counter. I hate plastics on counter. I'll be the first to admit it.
So we didn't just put the appliances away to show you this house. We actually have them hidden all the time in our little appliance garage over here. And this is something, after living in the house for 7 years, we really got to know exactly what we wanted in this space. And we wanted outlets everywhere. So all of these cabinets have multiple outlets in. Everything in here is plugged in and ready to use, so we can make coffee, pop something in the microwave, turn on the tea kettle, and it's all really easy. We have storage, our bar down here, we have storage for coffee mugs.
Everything has a home.
Huge.
Everything has a home, as it should. And that leads us to this beautiful dining room. I can't tell you how many times we actually now have meals here. I love working here. And before, when our dining room was in the middle of the brownstone, we just weren't utilizing it. And because of that, it just became another area where we dropped everything on. And now we have an intentional dining area. So if Barry's cooking, which he tends to do all the cooking in the house, I'm usually sitting here having a glass of wine, catching up on emails. And then whenever I do cook, Barry's usually here too.
But yeah, we really enjoy having the dining here. We did have to move our island over to accommodate getting the table in here, but it really was a huge change getting the dining out of the living area and into the kitchen. And then finally, we also have this tall storage unit here, which is also organized very similarly. All the vacuum cleaners plugged in, charging, ready to go, so that we can grab it at any time and use it. And so just having like proper storage and having a home for everyone, we think is just really important to the overall beauty of the house. Because if you don't have a place to put things, if you have your appliances on your countertop, you know, you're taken away from that beauty and that enjoyment of your home. So creating storage, making sure things have a home, making sure that your house is functional is just as important as making sure it's beautiful.
And there was a lot of custom things that we created to create the space, but custom doesn't necessarily need to be expensive. And we got really crafty with this dining room table made of natural walnut. This was done by a maker off of Etsy. This was a repurposed, a second-hand vintage light here. This piece of art, I love. It blends in perfectly with the color of this. And this was a Facebook Marketplace find for under $50. And then we built this bench ourselves, and we worked with a reupholsterer to do the custom reupholstery work, Kelly at Picnic Drapery House. And I just love this textile with the stripe against the walnut with the corduroy chairs. And it's just like chef's kiss, in my opinion.
So when we first walked into this house, we saw a lot of what we wanted to see and the historic detail that existed, but it was all in really bad shape. And the home had gone under a lot of kind of bad renovations over the years. So they carved bedrooms up into different places. I think it was like 5 bedrooms. They moved the kitchen over to make room for another bedroom. So I think they was using it as an Airbnb house for a while. So everything was covered in paint. I think everything was painted over probably 50 times with different layers of white paint. But we saw through that. We saw the plasterwork, we saw the beautiful original woodwork and the shutters. And we had been looking for a while, and the block was really cute, and we just felt really good about it. We felt like it was the right place for us. We felt like it had the bones we wanted it to have, and we felt like we could get our hands dirty and we could do the work and restore it. So we set off on our renovation journey, and we really had to stretch our budget. So we ended up finding some really amazing artisans that could work alongside with us. And that's really how we learned to do what we do. So we learned how to paint strip all the paint off the woodwork. We learned how to install, moldings and baseboards. We learned how to redo some of the plaster work. So it was a lot of work, but we enjoyed it, and it was nice for us to like take part in building our home. And it also taught us so many skills that we took into our future projects.
It was really cool because we were so new in our relationship. And when you're tackling a renovation, you're also learning so much about whoever you're working with. So I really learned so much about Barry through our own renovation. And I knew very quickly that we could really go into business together because what he was really strong in was something I might have been weak in, and vice versa. But I look at our first rendition of our renovation because we recently just renovated our home. And I look at that first rendition as more of a restoration. And we had the bones set in place, like all of the paint stripping and the woodwork that Barry was mentioning. But this new rendition of our home really brought in our personality. So now I call it our latest design project. And your home is always evolving because you're always evolving as a person. So for me, I'm so proud of this recent renovation of ours because I think our personality is just marked on every single corner of our home now. So up on the top floor is the bedroom floor. There's 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. Let's start in the primary.
So this is our primary bedroom. We also put wall molding up in this space. We painted it this beautiful color that I love now. This is called Duster from Farrow & Ball. It's this kind of like yellow mustard camel-y color. It looks really great. And in here we accented the woodwork in the ceiling with kind of like a creamy white color. It's a white tie from Farrow & Ball. And this room is super peaceful. It is very serene. We have some gorgeous trees right outside the window here. And in the summer, these trees are just completely green. And we feel like we're in a tree house up here. And we really wanted it to feel like that with this color that we brought in as well.
Yeah, this room was inspired by a trip that we took to the English countryside a couple years ago. And we both felt so peaceful in this like cottage hotel. And we both said to each other, whatever this vibe is that we're feeling right now, we want to feel in our primary bedroom. So we really played upon that trip. Design should always lead with your inspirational trips, vibes that you feel throughout your journeys. And now we brought this inside the bedroom. I love this dramatic drapery here. Again, Kelly at Picnic House Draperies worked with us on these, but I love the ticking in them. And we also went with a new headboard from Sixpenny. I love the curve on it against the textiles with the bedding.
We had to do a couple of little tricks in here in our first renovation. The fireplace bump out was on this wall, and those get in the way a lot. The fireplace was removed, unfortunately, but sometimes even in the houses we work in, it's tough to design around this thing that juts out into the room. So what we decided to do here is we extended it so that it's kind of symmetrical in the room, and it left us with this little corner over here, this little inset area. So we put these shelves in and created this little moment and made it more intentional. Now it all feels like it all belongs this way.
Totally.
Which is great. We also had to fix the crown molding around it, which is definitely a trick. It costs a little bit of money to do that, but if you really want your house to look finished and complete and intentional, I think that is what really does that here.
This chair means a lot to us. This chair was the only thing in the house when we purchased the home, and it had a completely different fabric. It was like this 70s orange color, and the chair was sitting alone in the cellar. And it was quite creepy, but I insisted that we keep the chair, and one day I was gonna give it a new life. And I found this House of Hackney fabric, and now the chair is sitting in our bedroom. I love it so much. I love the bold fabric on it now. And we even accent it in the original orange color on the chair here. So it kind of pays homage to the past life, but now it has a brand new life, and we put all new cushioning in this. Also in this bedroom, something controversial that I'm going to openly admit to everybody is I have a TV on my dresser. I know.
Shame.
Shame, but I am a TV person, and I'm not gonna lie, it makes me happy. Barry hates it, but I don't care.
I'm usually not in here when the TV's on.
I fall asleep to the TV every night. I love it so much more than flipping through my phone. You'll notice that the TV is just hanging on the dresser because Barry will not let me put it on the wall, but hopefully in renovation part 3, it will be on the wall.
So we also have our primary bathroom, which is right here off of the bedroom. And we really love our bathroom. It works very well for us, and we feel like we just used this space very well to create this space. So it's not very big, but we're not bath people, we're shower people, and stepping in and out of a bathtub every single day when you don't really want to take a bath is kind of annoying. So we created not only a shower, but a double shower, so that we can really save time in the morning. And we also have a double sink here. This is kind of like a smaller vanity for a double sink, but it's still helpful for us to each have our space. We also color drenched this room in this beautiful color as well, which is this nice blue-green, and the rest of the tile is kind of neutral, so it kind of supports that bold color.
Okay, so this room is entirely different than our last house tour. And this is our peaceful getaway guest room. And I love this room so much, not only because of this gorgeous green color that we brought into the wainscot below, but also this color on the wallpaper. These are all from Farrow & Ball. This is Farrow & Ball's wallpaper. This wallpaper collection was inspired by a chateau that they worked with the homeowners of the chateau, finding replicated wallpapers that they found in the chateau over the decades. And I think this wallpaper dates back to the 1700s. And they did a new replication of it. And I love the print so much. It's very calm and peaceful. And we brought the color all the way down here on the trim of the wainscot. And we matched that green from the wallpaper into the wainscot as well. We furnish it with this very English countryside vibe, French chateau vibe here. And I think that this room is just now very peaceful. And hopefully we love having people over our house. And I think that this kind of escapes from the hectic city life and you just feel like you're somewhere else.
And one thing to note about this room is a little bit of a design challenge for Brownstones is that they're long and narrow. And so this room is in the middle of the brownstone. So it doesn't have access to windows on either side of it, but it does have this enormous skylight in it. So it's often the brightest room in the house. It's covered in snow right now, so it's not as bright as it usually is, but it really is, it's interesting, you know, having a room with no windows and it being the brightest room in your house. And plus we feel like with the wallpaper, it gives a little bit of a view anyway.
Okay, so this is our nod to historic New York. Welcome to our guest bathroom. We are obsessed with this bathroom. This has gone little renovation since our previous, but it's because we poured so much heart and soul. This used to be a bedroom. Now it's a bathroom. This door is a door that we made ourselves. We took an old door from another brownstone project of ours and we cut out the trim here. And that allowed us to put this glass panel made with chicken wire. We made this custom stencil, WC, for water closet. We put an antique inspired doorknob on that. And now it just has so much character. And you walk inside here and it's just things that make me really happy. I love the florets on the tile here. Classic, we put in a brand new soaking tub. This is a beautiful curtain here. These are all window shutters that we stripped and restored. This wallpaper is, we just came out with a wallpaper collection with wall pops. And this collection was very much inspired by things that we find in our brownstone renovations. And this is called the townhouse stripe. And we took a classic stripe, but we kind of did different embellishments of what are inspiring for us. And now it lives in this space that we love so much. I also am looking at something on our last house tour we talked a lot about, and that is Barry's obsession with Bill Murray. And now it was in our bedroom, and I finally said, Barry, we got to get rid of Bill in our bedroom. So now it's our bathroom. But it's just a really fun piece. I love this quirky niche here with some other inspiring things that we found from trips and travels. And this bathroom just not only makes us happy, but it's definitely a crowd favorite on Instagram as well.
Okay, so the last room on the top floor is this room. This is a room that we both really love. We call it our office, even though it doesn't look much like an office. It's more set up like a den because that's how we like to work. This is a kind of a loungy space, relaxing space. And we totally transformed this space. It was just a white room before. We painted it. Biggest thing that you might see here is this color on the walls. It's kind of like a purpley red color. It's called Brinjal by Farrow & Ball. We love it. It's gorgeous. It kind of changes throughout the day, and it's totally color drenched. Even on all the cabinetry and the millwork that we put in. We built this really cool bench seat here that we love lounging on.
Sailor can't wait for this to be his dog bed.
As soon as Sailor can jump that high, he's going to be all about it. But it also is storage as well. So we have like some blankets and pillows and things under there that we store.
And one of the cool things that we did with design in this space is we're on the top floor, lower ceilings. We don't have that fortunate ceiling height that we have on the parlor. So we went with low furniture in this space. So you'll notice that the sitting chair and the couch are lower, and that just to give the illusion of more height in the space.
And something that I'm really proud of that we did here, similar to our WC door that you saw, that we found a vintage door, we put chicken wire glass in it, made it a cute little moment. We did that here with these closet doors as well. These closet doors it was just a very plain bifold 3-panel door. Same exact doors that we actually have on all of our other closets up here. And what we did is we broke them apart and we made French doors out of them instead of a bifold door. And then we cut out the 2 top panels and we put in this chicken wire glass and we put in the stencils on them as well for Brownstone Boys. And this new hardware. And it just kind of like makes the room feel a little more loungy, even though it actually is a bedroom. You know, this is a bedroom. If we sell our house, it's a 3rd bedroom. It's got a closet. It makes it feel less like a bedroom and kind of more like a more interesting space. So I wanted to be an architect all throughout high school, when I was growing up. I actually used to draw house plans for houses when I was like 8 years old. And my parents thought I was a really weird kid. But I was just fascinated with how people like live in their homes and how you work and function in one room to the next. And I didn't realize at that time what it was all about, but I was just fascinated with it. And so all through high school, all the kids were wondering what they were going to be. I knew I was going to be an architect. And I did actually get into architecture school. I went to LSU for architecture, and I lasted about 2 years before I dropped out of architecture school and ended up getting a business degree from LSU. And I went into software sales right out of college, and I stayed in software sales for about 10 years. But I never lost my passion for architecture and design, and I ended up wanting to buy an apartment really early on, very soon after school. So I scraped together every penny I could. I bought my first apartment in Brooklyn, and I renovated it, and I lived there for a couple of years. Then I sold it and did pretty well with it and thought it was fun. So I decided to buy another apartment that needed even more renovations, and I totally gut renovated that place, lived there for a couple of years and sold it. Then I bought 2 apartments and did the same thing and just kind of kept building and building. And so when we closed on our place, it was my 9th closing. So I had a lot of experience just kind of renovating my own places and understanding the process, and I did the design of them all and myself and hired a contractor.
And this is why I put my life savings in with this guy.
So I also really enjoyed kind of designing my house. I was doing it for myself, but I was also doing it for the future buyer, the client that didn't exist yet that was gonna buy the house. I enjoyed making a place that I knew other people were gonna want and like and wanna buy. So now that we have worked for clients and we have a whole team and a design business, it feels very similar to that, and that we're still designing houses for someone else and kind of putting ourselves in their shoes and making it work and function and be beautiful for them.
Yeah, and my background is the complete opposite. I just was saving every single penny in hopes to buy a small apartment one day. But I put myself through film school, and I worked at a bakery, and the guys were expanding into a second bakery, and they asked me to help design the kitchen within this new bakery, and I became so obsessed with designing the small kitchen. And after that second bakery opened up, they said, "Wow, this is so beautiful, you did such a great job," and I just expressed how much I loved working on that project. They referred me to a very small ice cream company here in New York at the time that had 2 small ice cream shops. And I met the owners, and I joined the team of Ample Hills Creamery, and it was then that I joined that they expanded into 16 locations. And I worked alongside their architect and some of the designers, and I just enthralled myself in project management and opening up all of these retail locations. And that's when me and Barry aligned, and Then I converted all of my savings in with this, and then that's what led to this brownstone.
I think what home means to me and to a lot of people is just a way to express yourself. And that's why this second renovation that we did meant so much, because it was really more so about us expressing our personalities and putting our stamp on it. And I think it's something that's really special to be able to, have your personality shine through and invite your family and friends over and have interesting things and objects and furniture pieces that tell a story, or telling the story of the renovation and the type of work that you did. So that's what I think about first when I think about what home is.
And I'm gonna second that, but I'm just gonna add that home is non-judgmental. And I say that because no home should look alike, because whoever is living in that home should put their personality into their home, and no one should have the same personality, and home means something different for everybody. And I think that this version of our home is the truest mark on who we are as people right now in this period of our life.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Lisa Mullan Perkins. Welcome to my home in Beacon Hill. I cannot wait to show you around. Come on in.
I'm Allison Kenworthy, the founder of Homeworthy, and on this channel we take you inside the world's most beautifully decorated homes and introduce you to the brilliant people who live there.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Liz Lang. Welcome to Grey Gardens.
To watch Homeworthy ad-free, visit homeworthyplus.com or scan the QR code on screen. Homeworthy Plus provides an ad-free viewing experience and exclusive content featuring our beloved hosts.
Yeah, I can't wait to see. I'm so excited.
And if you're looking to shop items inspired by this and other Homeworthy tastemakers, be sure to use the product links below.
My name is Lisa Mullan Perkins. I'm the owner of Uilla Warrior. I live in Beacon Hill, Boston, and welcome to my home. Our Beacon Hill home was one of the very first homes on Beacon Hill back in 1806. It used to be green pasturelands on this side of the house, and then the State House was decided to be built right up the street on Mount Vernon. So once the Massachusetts State House was built, people looked at this area and said, you know what, this is going to be a really special place. Let's make it a remarkable neighborhood. So Bullfinch, the architect who also built the State House and built a lot of the most important buildings in Washington, D.C., he was commissioned to build two sister homes on Beacon Hill, the first two of three homes on Beacon Hill, our house and the house right next door. So fast forward from 1806 to today, there's a lot of ownership changes, a lot of fun stories about the house, a lot of history here that ends with our family living and growing up in this place today. This house found us. We literally lived next door through that wall and had been there for many years. I actually got engaged over there on a terrace. And we became friendly with the owners of this house, George and Lee Sprague. Now the Spragues were hardly wallflowers. They were larger than life, so much fun, threw the biggest parties in this house. And naturally, we became friends together. Our family was growing next door and we were running out of space, so we were on the hunt for a new home, and it happens that the Spragues were ready to move on from our house. So we bought the house after many rounds of cocktails, a lot of cocktail hours with the Spragues hammering out a deal that was off market, and I think they were just thrilled to have a young family in here, and we were thrilled to keep the torch of a lot of fun and good memories going at our home. Welcome to our living room. This is probably the most traditional Federalist room we have. We still have the mahogany doors, which open and slide shut. We have all the crown moldings from the 1820s and around the fireplace as well. But as you can tell, there's a lot of contemporary pieces in here today. And for our family, it made sense to have more of an open footprint, a lot more color, more contemporary designs that would be really easygoing for little kids, teenagers, and adults, and with a lot of brightness and color. So we've done a really fun job of mixing contemporary with the Federalist feel of this room. So, but before I go into the different pieces of this room, I want to tell you a little bit about the history. So the house was built in 1806. It's a bullfinch house. And by the time I got to 1850, the house was completely demolished. Now, Lee Sprague, the former owner, told me that there was a fire in here that gutted everything. I can't find anything in history that talks about a fire, but we do know the house was gutted. And this guy, this wealthy banker, financier, Brooks, decided to rebuild it with wood, like stone stucco on the outside. It was pretty ugly, and he called it the Brooks Mansion. And people were kind of upset that Brooks's mansion took this over. So fast forward a number of years, this family, the Valentines, which the wife is Lucy Valentine, decided to buy the house, and she was going to rip it down again and put a boarding house in here. And the boarding house would extend all the way to the street. Now there's a setback to the street, which really is very important to the whole Beacon Hill neighborhood. And the neighbors fought this tooth and nail. And Lucy got so mad, she went back to New York City and didn't even live in the house. And so lo and behold, Lucy failed at her attempts to make this a boarding house. And if it wasn't for that care by the community, we wouldn't be here today. So after Lucy, Henry Hornblower bought the house and restored it in the 1920s to the Federalist style. And one thing that Henry did is he never got rid of the stucco the former owner had put on it. So the walls are like 3 feet deep here. I mean, the walls to this house are massively deep, which is really unusual. I guess it creates for great insulation, but you know, the house was restored to a Federalist look. It really is in keeping with the neighborhood, and it's been a huge success to bring it back to the Federalist style. Our renovation was completed 10 years ago. So even though we have a lot of contemporary pieces, they're timeless and they really work with the Federalist originations of the house. Lindsay Adelman is a cornerstone of this room with her lighting fixtures and the center pendant and also on the candlestick sconces on the wall. Now, the candlestick pendants are very modern, but they're a nod to old candles from the Federalist days. Another interesting piece to the room is our wallpaper by Fromenthal. And this was custom paper. It's hand painted and there's little silk embroidered flowers on it that really resemble a blossoming tree. If you look out the windows of our living room, there's these gigantic trees. And the wallpaper is an extension of the trees coming into the room. It's almost as if you're sitting in the trees, sitting in this room. And this wallpaper is contemporary, but also has an older feel to it compared to a lot of other pieces. This is our bar made by my uncle. His name is Tim Coleman. He's a furniture maker in Western Massachusetts. He's extremely talented. I'm so lucky there's another creative in our family. But this bar is great. It lifts up. It's this entire mirrored inside where you can make yourself a drink and entertain so easily. My favorite part about this bar, though, are the doors. They slide into the bar all the way back, and it opens up into this incredible storage for all of our glassware. It really is a masterful piece. It's beautifully designed. He does such nice work. Our home had not been renovated since 1955. There was no air conditioning. There's the elevator that was catching on fire. It was really dark in here and a lot of wood. It needed an overhaul inside and out. I mean, the house was basically running on oil. I mean, we had the oil truck pulling in and filling up the house every few weeks. It was crazy. Even though this is our most formal room, it's also extremely comfortable. We took a lot of care in creating seating spaces that were really comfortable and cozy in a place that you wanted to come relax at the end of the day. This quilted chair is by a British company named Edelman & Company. I love to curl up on it, especially when there's a good fire going. It's really been very durable, remarkably, with all of our kids and pets and life. Love it. The other piece I'd love to talk about is our couch, this great purple couch. I can't tell you how many times I find my kids just sprawled out here doing homework or just relaxing after a hard day of sports. This is by Elliot. It's in purple, so we don't shy away from colors around here. We love it. And it's really just the centerpiece of the room in terms of this bright purple, but it doesn't take over the room. Our rugs in our home are largely from the rug company. I love the rug company. I can't get enough of their rugs, and they're so timeless. I've had some of their pieces for 25 years. This one's design is called Tracery, which is really fitting. It kind of resembles the branches from Frauenthal wallpaper and the trees outside. So again, we really try to bring in the nature into the room. Speaking of nature and plants, I have a very special plant here, very special. This plant actually has a name. This plant's name is Mama. In our family, my late grandmother, who was just the most delightful woman ever, really remarkable, she had this great jade plant of her own. And after she passed, we took all these clippings from her jade plant, and we each grow a mama plant in our family. So this is mine. This one actually came from my sister-in-law, thank you. But I think I have the best mama plant of my family. Mixed in with our home are some contemporary pieces, more mid-century, modern. This is a great ribbon lamp by Henry Balmer. It really fits in nicely with the contemporary lighting and also the Federalist style. So there's a few different chapters of history in here. One of my favorite pieces are these floating lucite bookshelves. Like basically there's no hardware. They're drilled right into the core of the wall. And the idea is that the items that sit on the lucite shelves are like floating among themselves. And the lucite shelves are clear so they don't break up the room. It's really minimalist, but a way to display, items and have the items on the shelf shine. I keep some of my favorite items on this shelf, even though they don't particularly go with each other. This vase is a Venetian vase that I received for my 50th birthday from my husband and my children. It's so pretty and ornate, and I just love having it nearby. We also have a lot of family pictures over here. It's more subtle, so it doesn't jump out at you when you walk in the room, but our family and legacy is a part of this house and this room as well. These stairs are the original Bullfinch design. Now, they weren't always here. There was supposedly a fire in this house between 1806 and 1825, and everything was gutted. Now, Henry Hornblower bought the house in 1850 and took the Bullfinch plans for the stairs and rebuilt them to spec. Every stair level has 23 stairs. There's 11 convex, 11 concave, and 1 straight for each set. Well, that's 92 stairs for the whole house from the ground floor up to the 5th floor. So you could get a lot of exercise just living here. But what's awesome is it's in the historical record. It is the centerpiece of our home, and it literally sits in the center of this house. For a long time, this stairwell just was white with nothing in it, no wallpaper, anything. And we stared at it for years trying to figure out the right choice for this because it is the center of our home. So I worked with Nina Farmer, a decorator who spends time in Boston and New York, and she found this custom calico wallpaper. It almost looks like a space theme. And it's very modern, but again, it's contemporary and timeless, and it really ties in with the authenticity of the house. And it really has allowed the staircase to glow. It's fantastic. Now let's head over to the dining room, which used to be the Sprague's library. When we renovated the property in 2011, not only did we put in air conditioning and restore the bullfinch stairs where they needed to be restored, it also transformed a lot of rooms. Like this was very dark in this space. It had this small archway. It had no natural light coming through. It was really a dungeon feeling. And you had to walk through this arch into this very dark mahogany 1950s library. So the library was not original to the 1800s. We decided to open this up and to make it our dining room. So the genius behind this whole combination of Federalist and modern was our architect, David Stern, and his wife, Diane McCafferty from Stern and McCafferty. David is the architect and Diane's the decorator, and they really did an incredible job of working with some really tight spaces and really bringing together this home that has been magnificent and transitional for all stages of our family's life. Our dining room, we were concerned, and so was Diane, that it had a few challenges. First of all, this table is my grandmother's table and original chairs from the mid-century. She got it in Brooklyn, New York, so it's really New York City bound. If you notice, the chairs are kind of tiny. Like today, you go into a dining room and everyone has these huge chairs, and they're kind of short. Now, they're very comfortable, and my kids, I'm shocked. They sit out here all the time doing homework. I'm just amazed that they choose to sit here, but it really is a comfortable space, not only to do homework, but to have a great family celebration. To make the space work, Diane basically created this cigar box. Like it's this light wood, it's its own space. It's separated from the rest of the house, but a part of the house. She's got these incredible mirrored doors that has a lot of storage almost all the way to the ceiling to hide a lot of stuff. You can see all the stuff hidden in here. I'll show you some more. Yes, all this stuff you don't want everyone to see, but it's behind these incredible mirrored, almost leopard print doors. I love them. The other thing that she really is the genius of Diane is she bought these candy light fixtures. They're very long and they were designed specifically to fit this space. And they're open and airy so that the light comes through, but they also take up space because this is really a big box. Our ceilings are 15 feet in some places in this house. So, especially on this floor. So the design of not only putting lighting and furniture and whatnot, you had to look at the space vertically too to figure out the best way to utilize it and to build it out. So in a contemporary home, sometimes it's very uncluttered and there's not a lot of detail. Well, I like to fill it with detail, and I wouldn't exactly call it clutter, but it's my children's artwork. It might be a little scary to you, but it's kind of fun. I mean, over the years, your children make these great pieces, and I've started keeping more of the ceramic and modeling ones up here, and it's just created a lot of color in the space, and it's brought our family's touch to the space. So this is largely artwork by my children, but a more serious artist that also lives in this space is this awesome photograph of the locks in Paris, and this is called Love Locks. The artist is Tess Atkinson. She's also my neighbor from up the street. So just like the piece in the entryway that was from a restaurant down the street, Tess Atkinson's my dear friend. She's very talented, and her Love Locks piece fits in this place. And two other pieces of artwork in this space that also are near and dear to my heart are from my stepmother, Janine Mullan. She's from Buffalo, New York, and I think she has a piece in the Albright Knox Museum there as well. She uses a lot of natural materials, but on bookends of the dining room are two of Janine Mullan's pieces. My favorite things about living on Beacon Hill are the neighbors and the community that we have right here in the city. There's so many friends that I can see right outside of this windows of our home where we've raised our children together as if we were living in the suburbs. Down the street is Hill House, the community center. It's all of our town sports. There's great restaurants and stores and shopping just steps away from our doorstep. And I still get to walk outside and wave hello to my local postman who's been delivering our mail for years, my neighbors, just doors down the street, neighbors who I can run out in my PJs with a bottle of wine and sit down and watch a football game at their house and come right back to our house for dessert. I mean, it's really a lot of fun in this neighborhood. I think a lot of people who come to Beacon Hill view it as the city neighborhood, this thing that looks far away, but there's really a vibrant community here that's all growing and blossoming together. Beacon Hill's been an awesome place to raise a family. If you follow me, we're gonna head into the kitchen. This is where the house transitions the most from Federalist to contemporary. So come with me. This is our kitchen. A lot of life happens in here. Even though it's very uncluttered and clear, we needed to have a story that Stern McCafferty put together of this transition from old to new. So it starts with this old Federalist arch that you have to go through, but then you enter a very clear, clean, modern space. The lighter woodwork is a way to transition and to define different parts of the kitchen. One of my favorite accessories here is the hidden desk. So in our kitchens, even, my kitchen usually doesn't look this uncluttered, but I always have a spot to throw a lot of life, whether I'm entertaining or having a party. It's pretty cleaned out right now. We've got our soda stream in here, which we love, a laptop. But this little hidden space around Thanksgiving when we're hosting 30 people is jammed with stuff. I haven't talked a lot about entertaining in this house, but we can have a seated dining party for 30. We've had 2 tables going down the front hallway in the dining room. The house can accommodate hundreds of people on this floor. We've had knockdown holiday parties on Christmas Eve where on the stairwell there's like 40 people singing 12 Days of Christmas. It's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of good memories, particularly on this floor, which is a great entertaining floor. So what are some of my favorite things in the kitchen? Well, first is this great lighting piece by David Weeks. He has a studio in Brooklyn, New York, and this piece really takes up the entire space. It's like a mobile in here. It's really fun. And it also breaks up the rectangularness in here. It's really a great, fun piece that makes this more action and more exciting. The other piece, which has grown over the years, this is a bulletin board we put in that in the beginning had a couple of things on it, but after, I think like 12, 13 years of living here, it's filled with all sorts of chapters of our life. Some of my favorite things to do is every Sunday night, I try to cook dinner for our entire family. And I'm not the greatest cook, but I know how to cook. I had to take cooking in college, and I think I got a D. But that wasn't because I don't know how to cook. I just couldn't get everything out on time. So don't be afraid to eat my cooking. But to show you my refrigerator, it's stocked. I have 3 teenagers, and if you came back and filmed this 3 days from now, it would be empty. It's really a fun time right now where there's just a lot of volume going on in this kitchen. One of my favorite things is what we call the carb cabinet. So this is where you can come get any carb you want. It's really just calories spilling out of this cabinet right here. But I've got your Jet Puff marshmallows to your crackling oat bran, Girl Scout cookies, Oreos, you name it. I've got a lot of great cereals and oatmeal. If you want to carb up, come over. So in our kitchen, you can't see a lot of glassware or a lot of things, but everything's very accessible. So behind like these really easy to access push open doors are glassware, which are nicely hidden. And over here, we've done the same with all of our cooking sauces and oils and vinegars. Now, you may see how organized this is. And I have to admit, I hired a good organizer. I don't think I could have pulled this off on my own, but I have kept it maintained like this for years. So it wasn't that much money. I highly recommend people getting an organizer if they move into a new space. It pays off big time. One of the challenges that Stern McCafferty had designing this space was how to get the back stairwell to flow through this back part of the house. So it really has to flow through the kitchen, which you would never realize is there's stairs that continue on one side and start on the other side. So let's continue on to where all of this room and light comes from. It's coming from this back glass boxed family room. We spent a lot of time here. It's really where all the action around dinner time happens. This pass-through was created not only to create light into the kitchen, but it's become a workhorse in terms of food coming out through the passway to the table and back. It really is great. And somebody, maybe the organizer, was so smart to put all of our utensils and silverware over here. It's just magnificently and so smartly designed. I love it. Believe it or not, the original kitchen for this entire house was in this little square area. It was like an alley kitchen. That wasn't going to work for us. So we've reclaimed this entire space, opened it up with skylights and windows. It's super bright. It's supposed to be like you're actually outside. We eat and spend a lot of time at this Sarnen table. I can't tell you how durable. This might be my favorite thing in this house. It's so durable. I've literally gotten permanent marker out of it for my kids. I mean, this thing has just been a workhorse and I love it. In terms of other favorite things, we have this little terrace. It's not very decorated because, as you can tell by the basketball court, it's kind of getting ridden hard right now by my family. I have grand plans to take it to another level at some point. But there's this little, these little balcony windows up above that leads to an enclosed porch at our neighbor's house at 87. That's where my husband proposed to me. That's where we rented. So the connection of our lives between both houses is really present, even though we're next door. You Will a Warrior, the business I founded with one of my dear friends, Natalia Martorell, was really born in our underwear drawer. We were really frustrated with the choices that women had in terms of intimates. We wanted items that we pulled out of our drawer and wanted to wear every second of the day that were comfortable but not dowdy looking. We set out to make a line of luxurious underwear, bras, camisole slips that you could wear every moment of every day, that were high quality. Half of our line is made of 100% natural silks. The other half is completely seamless. You Will a Warrior are the units that you're pulling out of your underwear drawer first every day. You Will a Warrior was a side hustle for many years until it started getting traction on its own. And today we have a big direct-to-consumer business. We sell wholesale to like Nordstrom's and Free People, and it's really grown into its own cult following. We like to say with You Will a Warrior, we make underwear with fewer wedgies and more kicking ass. Growing up, I never thought I would run my own business, nevertheless an underwear business. That if you would have told me that, I would have fallen on the floor. I mean, that just was totally out of reach. You Will a Warrior was something I really fell into by happenstance. So I'm glad I've run my own business. I've learned a lot. It's been an awesome experience to be in charge of your own destiny and to be creative and to create something that makes other people so happy. Welcome to my entryway. One of the first pieces that everyone sees when they walk in our front door is this awesome photography by Shadi Garderian. She's an Iranian artist. I found her work at Lala Roque, an Iranian restaurant local to Beacon Hill, for many, many years. What I love about Shadi's work is she tells stories about war-torn areas, but life going on and beautiful things happening. And the message for our guests and our family is you may have had a war zone of a day outside these doors, but when you come in here, the flowers are growing. And this is where you can rejuvenate and find peace. All right, so if you follow me, let's go see the rest of the house. So who gets to live in a house with an elevator? Well, in a 5-story Beacon Hill brownstone, you typically get an elevator. And ours is straight out of 1950, gate and all. But one fun thing, this elevator used to not be very dependable. The former owners, the Spriggs, had a stool filled with nips just in case of emergencies, because you never know when you're going to get stuck in this thing. So let's head upstairs and check out the bedrooms. Come follow me. All right, welcome to the landing of our second floor. This is where the bedroom and our office that I share with my husband is. We have some great artwork by Christopher Johansson. He does a lot of prints. We love his humor. Like this one in particular, it says, "You are not the master." It's very humbling. It's got a lot of humor. It just reminds you every day that you're not really in control of things, but have a sense of humor with it. Another one of his pieces are, "Forever is ever, always, for all time." And it's just like life is going to go on, but life can be colorful. So that's some of my favorite things on the landing. Let's go see one other piece by Tess Atkinson in my bedroom. Okay, we made it to their bedroom. This is my favorite Tess Atkinson piece. It's basically a picture taken on the Esplanade at the beginning of spring when all the buds are coming out and blossoms on the trees. So this is her cherry blossom series, and I'm so lucky to get to wake up and look at it every day. Other pieces in here are this really cool, explosive, star-looking piece, lighting from Design Within Reach. We have a custom quilted headboard to our bed. It's very quiet, but also a great accent and adds a lot of like texture to the room. This chair my husband's kind of taken over, but it's really comfortable. It's by Pierre Paulin. We've got this really cool light that you can just sit and kind of wind down the evening and read a little bit. It's really a comfy corner for us. So a few other highlights of our bedroom are this rug, which is again from the Rug Company. It's got a great pattern to it. It kind of ties in with our mid-century modern side tables and drawers that we have in this room. Some of my favorite knickknacks over here, photos over time, some wedding photos. This one, you might wonder why we have an Ursuline nun. This is sent to me by my high school, Ursuline Academy, and where I went to in Dallas, Texas. And it just is a great reminder of where I came from and my people there. So I keep it right next to my bedroom, somewhere that's filled with more personal items. Again, I'll show you one of my, I guess if we're talking about artists, I have to give a nod to some of my children's artwork. This mom-dad heart, it's very sweet. They still love us, I think. Yeah, the bedding is very simple. It's lasted a long time. I'd have to look up who made the bedding, but I forget, but it's really good. It's very soft. We use Thomas Lee sheets. They're very comfortable. So let's go into the bathroom, which is pretty clean and simple. It's really amazing, but the fun thing that you've got to see is this light by Helen Built. It's called the Sea Urchin light, and it's just very happy. It's really a beautiful piece. I think it speaks to the whole room. We also have some more candlestick lights in the bathroom. They're very simple. It's very bright in here, and largely that's because, you know, it's hard to see, especially as you get older. Brightness works in a bathroom. There's a lot going on to get ready in the day, and this is such a fantastic spot to do it. Now you'll see there's not a lot of clutter in the bathroom. That's because it was designed with a lot of storage space, like in here and behind each mirrors. They look like they don't even open, but they are just filled with stuff. Another fun part about the bathroom is this open shower with some tile detail in the bathtub, but there's no doors in the shower. It's really open. This was an old closet in the Spriggs house that we reclaimed and made it the entire actual bath. Now we're gonna head up to my son's room. There's a lot of other bedrooms for the kids in the house, but his has something very special I wanna show you all. So come on. might say the kids' rooms were off limits, but as you see here is this big fat head of Tom Brady. So through my work at You Will a Warrior, we do a lot of photo shoots in our house. And there was one production agency that was supposed to be filming down the street and the stairwell wasn't working for them. So we get this last minute phone call, can we use your house for a photo shoot for a Swiss watch company? I say, okay, you can use it, sounds great. So lo and behold, the day arrives and guess who shows up at our front door to do the shoot was Tom Brady. So he was the model for the day. He actually got a haircut on our 5th floor that morning. But anyhow, so at the end of the shoot, Tom could not have been nicer. He agreed to come in and sign this fat head on our son's wall. So yes, this wall has been signed by Tom Brady. It says 6 times Super Bowl champs, because we know he's won more Super Bowls than that. So this was done before he was done. Okay, we're gonna go up to the final floor, the 5th floor. This is actually where we used to run my business a long time ago. So let's check it out. Follow me. All right, come on up to the 5th floor. As you can see, we're not shy about color. One thing I'd love to point out though is this skylight here. It really brings light all the way down the center of the house on every floor. And the skylight was always here, but before our renovation in 2011, this room was like really dark and creepy. It looked like it would be in a horror movie. And there was some bathroom that stuck out and covered part of the skylight. It was the creepiest place. But now it's like the happiest place. So come in, it's really bright and airy. It has great views. We have this great orange wall to greet you. And incredible views of Boston. And what better place to run a business, right? So when we started You Will a Warrior, we were really like doing this part-time, and then it started to grow. We didn't have an office, and so we decided to set up our office here in this room. So at this table, this is why we have this bigger table in here. We work here almost every day together. This is some of our silk collection, our 100% knitted silks, bottoms and tops. They're really bright and fun, you can tell. And this made a great office. It really was the perfect place to get work done. Some of the design elements are these bocce ball lights, which are really cute. This entire wall, it looks like wall, but it's storage. And back when You Will a Warrior had this as our office, this was filled floor to ceiling with underwear units. I kid you not. And now today it's pretty much empty. And it's kind of a good feeling to have some empty space in a house. You feel like you're not bursting at the seams. But this floor was a wonderful place to start our business. I mean, look at the views that we've got. It's really brings such happy memories of being up here. Our kids now take this over. This is like their den. This is where they bring all their friends. This is where if they have to take a video call, they do it. It gets a lot of use still, but it brings a lot of good memories. So like the rest of the house, it's filled with artwork by friends, family, people we know. This piece is by Priscilla Hayes. She's the late mother of one of my really good friends, Michelle, and I was really drawn to it by the bright color. It's a lot of fun. Everything of Priscilla's works were just really happy and vibrant. And so it really spoke to me, and this lives on our 5th floor. I actually grew up in Dallas, Texas, which is very far from Boston. And I never thought I would be here for the last 20 years, but I'm so glad that I have been. After Texas, I was fortunate to go to college on the East Coast, and as much as I loved my home state, I never went back. I lived in New York City for a number of years, and that's where actually Natalia and I became roommates after college. And after that, we got married, had kids, and essentially that's what brought me to Boston, which is my home of 20 years between this house and the house right behind me. Okay, we're gonna do something fun. We're gonna take the elevator all the way to the basement. Let's go. I'll see you in the basement. Welcome to my basement. Let's go check out the wine cellar. Come on. So when we bought the house, it was heated by oil. It was really quite interesting and expensive to run. So this was the old boiler room and the boiler door. This whole gym was just filled with oil tanks, like hanging from the walls everywhere. It was kind of nuts. So when we realized that the HVAC stuff today is so much leaner, we acquired all this space. And so we gained a gym, which gets used a lot, which is awesome. We also gained this fabulous space here, our wine room. And this wine cellar is really cool because it shows the original foundation of the house. That I can tell that this wall was the original wall ending the house. And then it was excavated even further once the renovation in the 20s happened. But what we obtained is this awesome wine room. And we do have quite a bit of a wine collection going, but it varies depending on what time of year, how much wine we have left in here. So we drink it, which is good. The last thing I'd like to point out is this light fixture. It's very 1950s, I think, but we found it in the house and repurposed it down here in the wine cellar, and it fits perfectly. Welcome to my basement. I didn't come to show you all the electrical and heating components, but back here is the coolest thing in the entire house. Behind this door is our vault, walk-in vault. I think this came from the 1800s. It really works. I have the codes, no one else. And it's kind of creepy inside. Come check it out. What's kind of weird is like there's somebody's army reserve. I don't know what's in it. It's locked shut, but it doesn't smell bad. So at some point in my life, I'll open that, but that belongs to someone from years past. Otherwise, it's just got some books, lamps, nothing interesting. But I do hear that the owner before the Spragues used to store her silver down here. It's kind of crazy. Like this vault really was used and locked for many years. So let me show you another safe in the house. This is a safe that we found on the 4th floor of the house. And when we opened it, all that was in there was a loan postcard to someone. It was kind of nuts. We since moved this safe down here to the basement. It was so heavy, we were worried it would compromise the wall, but it still lives here and I have the codes, so I know how to use it still. The word home means to me a place where you can shut the door from whatever is happening outside, but inside a home, there's flowers growing, there's warmth, there's colors. It's a place where you can just be yourself and express yourself and be at peace with yourself and your family together. Homeworthy, it was so much fun showing you my home in Boston. Thank you so much, but it's time for you to go. Take care and goodbye.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.